Hello everyone, Don here with the progress report on my repairs for my Corsair. As you can see, it is I've got the rudder all not finished, but it's the repair work is done. It's all been glassed, 2 layers of glass, and the thick microbloom slurry mix has been put on and sanded out. And what you can see under now with that little bit of shine is the first coat of what you call an epoxy wipe. You can see where it's sucked in pretty good there. It's still a little too damp to try and do the second one. It's now 6 p.m. on Monday. Saturday I didn't get to do much out here. Had a sink, my faucet sink was leaking and tore it apart to try and put new guts in it, but couldn't get it apart, so spent most of the day Saturday running down and buying a new thing and getting the sink all back together from leaking. Whenever you turn it on, it'd leak all over the sink. So spent the better part of Saturday trying to get the sink all back in order. So had to replace the inside floor. It was getting wet from the water running down around inside, and so I had to tear all that out and repair all that. So not much could be done out here. I think I did come out and do a little bit, but this part is pretty much ready. I want to do at least one more wipe. Like I say, I can see where there's some of it, because you put the epoxy on, just pure epoxy, and then you squeegee it out. I can see some small runs there, but I can lightly sand that stuff off. But it's probably going to take two applications at least to fill in the low spots. That's what the epoxy wipe's all about. Put the resin on, spread it in, and use a squeegee, which is like this, rubber squeegee. And then you essentially just squeegee it in, try to get it worked in all the scratches, the little air bubble holes and whatever little defects, and then you rub it on, then you squeegee it off, and that's where you can see kind of the dry spots. I'm trying to do both sides at one time. Some of it run down and there's some runs, but you can still lightly sand this stuff out, but it's still just too wet to try and do a second coat. I might be able to yet tonight. It'd be best if I can. It's best to do it when they're still tacky, so it'll the second coat will adhere. So that's all done. And here's the tail. It's all done as well. It's got one coat on it. You can see some runs in there, but that's okay. Yeah, it's harder to do the vertical surfaces, but that's the repair. It's all nice and straight. This is my little handy cam that I use on the airplane. I tore it apart, and for some reason the bottom button on the side, which is like a selector button to go up and down through the menus, it was broken. So I had to tear it apart and basically rip that little switch off the circuit board. I had to take a soldering iron to it and basically destroy the switch to get it out of there, because it was preventing the camera from turning on. So now I only have up, not down, but when you keep going through the up, it'll just circle back around to the start and do it all again. The only thing that's a real pain is if you have to set the date and time. Going up, it goes up through, but it only goes to 2029, and then it resets back to 2020 something. So I was able to get back to 2024 and the date and time. So otherwise, the camera seems to be working just fine. So I got that all done, and then this morning I finished getting the gearbox reassembled back to where it was. I went through the whole process of trying to I threw this in the freezer last night, this whole assembly here. Left this out. Yeah, I think it's still good. But I put this on a heat plate and got it up, it's like it says it's like 106 degrees, and I grabbed gloves, and I had some of these here to stick in the holes to catch the hole when I put it together, and it only went on like a 1/4 inch and locked. This was probably needed to be hotter than what I got it to. So, but I got lucky, because when I put it down, the holes were perfectly lined up, the hole in the hub and the hole in the shaft. So I just brought it out, put it in the press over there, pressed it down, kept checking it, and then finally got her down, and then I machined out, and it lined up perfect. So I machined out the 2 pins, pressed them in, and it turns out the pins are 2 different sizes. This one's like 7/16, and this one was like 485, 84, 85. And then I reused the original center plug. So that is now finished and ready to go back together on that part. But I need to, I'm going to pull this off. This is the planetary gears. And I'll see if I can get these out. These are bolts from the back side. And then there's 4 bolts on the back side of this, because I want to go ahead and strip this paint off so it matches the rest of this is all. So I want it to look like this. The nice thing about this water blast, aqua blaster, water blaster, vapor honing, whatever you want to call it, when it cleans it polishes, and when it polishes it makes it less susceptible if you have dirty hands on aluminum. If you just do a dry blast media, glass beads, and you touch it with dirty fingers, it leaves dirty, it gets into the pores and it gets dirty. I've been handling this thing, it's got a little dirt on it from using some welding gloves, you know, basically to hold this thing, and I put this in the freezer, and when I took it out it was just frosted, it was completely froze. It's pretty snug. I can hear the bearings, so it's right against the thrust bearings. The one under here, it's got the new seal in there, and the thrust bearing on the back side of this. You can just make out the outer ring of it there. You can see the outer ring of the thrust bearing. So the problem with that one is you had to make sure the shoulder on this back side of this that the thrust bearing sets in, there's 2 different thickness of washers for the thrust bearing. One's thin, one's thick, so you had to put the thin one on against the hub on this side, and then the bearing, and then the thick one, and the thick one was just enough to catch that lip, because the lip is not as wide as the whole bearing assembly. And then putting this in there, you got to make sure that this is in tight, otherwise that washer, the washer on the far side, takes and drops out of place, and then this isn't going to line up. So line up when you get this all together. If you try to press it together, it wouldn't reach, and by trying to compress it you just damage the bearing again like it did when I took it apart. So I didn't have to go, I mean it's snug, but it was always pretty snug to begin with. Just hopefully it'll work out. And then this is the spacer for the propeller, and then I got bushings that go into there, and then that catches the back side of the propeller hub, and then the bolts pass all the way through with the nuts on the back side here. So that's ready to go back on that. There's the shaft and bearings that go into that. So that's pretty much what I got done. Again, that input shaft goes into there, splines into this boat hub. So alright, I'm getting ready to get some material to do the flare on that, because that's all got to be repaired. You know, I got to get in here and sand all this out, get this all repaired, get that wire back in place, and I'm going to prep it for some cowl flaps, some makeshift cowl flaps. They'll be permanently just molded fiberglass, so they're not going to be, they'll be functional because I plan on cutting holes out along the back edge, like between here. Oh, there's the cowl separates right here with a hinge, so it'll be cut out here, cut out here. The cowl flaps will start up here and work their way down all the way around to this side over there. So there'll be no cowl flaps across here because the real ones don't have it. Plus it would get in the way of what little view we have. So, but they're going to stick out 1.5 inches. So you can figure I'm only going to give them 1.5 inches so it stays out of the airstream and causes excess drag. But the air will be able to come out through all these. You got 1, 2, 3, all 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places. So a good 3/4 of it, center to center. So it's better than 3/4 of the way we'll have. This will all allow vent, not here, but this will all allow the venting to come out through there through 1.5 inch gap. So that'll help get the engine heat out. Now it's not meant for cooling of the engine because again this is a water-cooled engine. It doesn't need airflow over the engine to cool it, but the airflow over the engine will help keep the heat from trying to work its way into the cockpit, because when I was flying this thing, it gets really warm in there even with my heater mechanism closed. With the cool air vent open, the heat closed, it still got warm in there, and I think it was basically radiant heat from this. So and again, the exhaust, I'm going to do a whole new exhaust. I'm going to find some new flanges so I don't have to reuse those because they've already been cut and welded twice. So I'll get a couple fresh ones, start with a whole new system. There'll be dual pipes going in, and I may just bring it out the center as a single exhaust. It'll be kind of hidden by the cowl, but we'll see when I get that far. So the one mod is redoing the exhaust because this thing cracked. The new canopy, I got to make the new canopy. Everything you can see is just covered in dust from sanding. I still got to get in there and take the dash apart, fix the broken mount on the right. That's all that's left. The canopy, of course, is broken, so I've got the material to make that. I just need to make the pattern. This weekend's been great. Today it was in the mid-60s. Tomorrow they're calling for mid-upper 70s, maybe 80 degrees for a high. So for election day, it should give us a good turnout, and hopefully it goes the right way. So tomorrow night I'll be watching all that real close, probably after about 6 p.m. But during the day I'll be out here fiddling with this. Basically, once this is done, I just got to give it a light sand with some 320. Yeah, it's still tacky. Give it some light sand with some 320. You can see where I got the line of epoxy down here to get into some of these scratches. That was sanded down with 40 grit paper. I think yeah, it's 40 grit. It does a good job. And then I think this is 80 on this, and I tell you that's probably the best thing I ever had for working on this thing, for all this sanding and such. So had somebody send a message to my niece about the GoFundMe, and he says, well, a lot of people will start watching your videos, but they don't follow it all the way through to the end. He said you should mention the GoFundMe at the beginning so people can see it, even though I do post it in the description just to help out my nieces with raising money. So right now it's up to 2,000, which is plenty. So I'm going to let it go till this weekend, and then I'll have her go ahead and stop it. I mean, she originally put the goal up for like 5,000. She didn't know. She didn't talk to me. She just put in 5, and it's like, I don't need $5,000 to fix this. 2,000 will pretty much will buy me the prop, the tail wheel. There is one company out there that sells a tail wheel, and I'm still not sure if it's going to work the way I want it to work. I've modified this one so many times that I'm about done with cutting it up, trying to modify it. But the new ones are a little different. They are a steerable tail wheel, but I don't need that mechanism, and it has a centering device that allows the rudder to work, basically 30 to 30 with the rudder controls to steer the tail wheel. And then once you hit 30, then it pops loose and becomes a full swivel like this one does. But mine was only detented to hold it straight, and apparently when it touched down, it popped loose, or it was crooked when it touched down, and it caused the right veer. And then the rudder, when the tail's down, the rudder pretty much doesn't have any authority left in it. And then the brake pedals, I was on the left brake pedal hard as I could, and it wasn't stopping. It was going too fast. We're doing 60 or less when that thing touched down. So then all I had to do is I just got on both brakes and basically slid out through the grass and then hit the little bank, and the rest is history. So, but the tail wheel is going to be, I'm probably going to replace it because I'll have enough money from that GoFundMe to just buy a new one and start from scratch. But it's going to be a lockable pin, cable controlled up into the cockpit with a lever, so I can drop the lever and it'll lock when you get the wheel straight. It will lock. It'll be spring loaded to lock it, and it won't come unlocked unless I flip the switch in the cockpit to release it. If you've ever seen a jet ski, or I don't know if they use them, but the old days with carbureted snowmobiles and everything, they have the choke lever. You pull it out so it sticks straight out as a half choke. You pull it up and flip it up over, and it gives you full choke. So something in the lines of that, something real easy. It's just going to be like a bicycle brake cable, just pulling a 1/4-inch pin out of a spring-loaded. It'll be spring-loaded into the wheel that if the cable broke, it would automatically lock the tail wheel when it goes straight. So that should help take care of any of those issues next time it comes up. So again, I'm going to go ahead and mix up. Once you do this first coat, the second coat, you don't need half as much epoxy. The first one really absorbs it, so I even, epoxied all this wood. So, and then I've sanded this out where I had to fill it in from cracking. But I think it's tacky enough that I can do a second coat now, but I want to get 2 on it. Again, tomorrow's supposed to be in the 70s, so overnight I'd done this 5-to-1, basically 5 parts microblooms to 1 part epoxy, and it was all cured this morning, even though it's been dropping down into the 30s and 40s here at night. So, all right, I'm just going to keep this one a little sweet. I would like to got more done, but I'm going to do 1 more wipe before I go to bed tonight. After I finish this video, I'll finish that up, and then I'll go in and post this video so you guys can see what I got done. So, but everything looks good. Those little things in here, I was able to fill in around those, and they're not very noticeable. There's one little low spot there. May have to put some spot putty in because I'm not going to be able to do too many of these wipes. It just takes too long to cure. And then I got to light sand it with some 320, smooth it all out, check it, and then hit it with probably just some basic primer. And then I'll get out my epoxy color, and I'll repaint this whole rudder, and I'll repaint that whole fin. I'll sand that fin down to basically the fade line is down to here. So I'll just hand sand that just to scuff it up, so the next layer of intermediate blue, which is the light blue you can see on the side there. You can tell by this camera. That's light blue, side's light blue, top is all dark blue. So, all right, we'll see how this video turns out. This one's a little, it's like a little GoPro, so it's a better wide angle for out here. The last time, I had my lawnmower in here, had my tire changing jig set up here, had my cherry picker sitting here, so I was kind of crawling in and out of stuff. There's a couple people complaining about getting seasick from moving around, but well, back to the old board, the old drawing board when I started. The camera, you gotta work slower, and then trying to walk around in here was a real pain with all the stuff in the way. So now this is clear, and then now it gives me room to bring the wing out here and get working on that next. So not quite sure where I'm going to go next. I'm going to try and get the materials to make the pattern, to make it like a kind of a mold to lay the fiberglass up for the cowl flaps, and then repair the cowls, of course. So I'm not sure if I'm going to work on the wing first or the cowl, or I may just get the materials. And I've already got it drawn up to make the sections that when you wrap it around the cowling, it'll go 360 degrees, and I'll fiberglass it all in, and then I can cut out what I don't need. And then I'll put some wedges underneath it to support it wherever the screws are, so it doesn't want to buckle when it's flying, but it shouldn't. It'll be. I may get some fiberglass mat instead of plain weave. I'll use a plain weave on the first layer, use that thicker matte material on the second layer, and then use another plain weave on the third layer, and that'll make a sandwich. I was trying to find foam like 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch thick foam. 1/4 inch I think was going to be a little too thick, but I was trying to find something 1/8 inch that I could use if my hot wire table wasn't buried underneath all the car parts back there. I could have got some of this stuff and sliced it down to 1/8 inch thick, and then used that to fiberglass it both sides. But I think just 2 layers of fiberglass with a thick layer of the matting in the middle, which actually I do have that too, just come to think of it. I thought about buying some. I bought it for making a mold for propellers. Yeah, right there it is. I've got that, and I think I bought some also there. So I should have what I need. So, alright, the only thing else I need is another 5 gallons of lacquer thinner for cleaning up. Last one I bought was like $45 for 5 gallons, and now they're $55 for 5 gallons. Stuff just keeps going up and up. So, Alright everybody, I'm going to cut her off here, and thanks, appreciate everybody taking time to watch these videos. As always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, and if you still like to contribute to the GoFundMe my niece set up, it's much appreciated, and they're real happy about it being a success. So, and for all those that have donated, the donations I looked at range anywhere from $5 to like $300, so that's real generous of people. If I had that kind of money, you know, I'd be doing it too. But my helping people is they bring their cars and stuff to me and fix them, and lawnmowers, and so I do a lot of that stuff, and I never charge anybody for that stuff. So, all right, that's it for now, folks. Maybe in the next time you see this will be all painted. That'll be painted, and it'll be back together. And then I hopefully will be working on that wingtip. I'll get that gearbox finished up, working on the flaps, the cowling. So, but I'll have to start getting some fuel for my torpedo heater, because things are going to get cold after tomorrow. So, all right, that's going to do it now, folks. I will see you again on the next one, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. For now, this is Done out.